I need all hockey players to listen up right now. The goal-setting system in hockey is dated. And here's how to make your own luck in hockey and not just rely on this ridiculous concept of setting goals and then hoping they work out. It's not going to work. Listen up now and understand that if you want to make it somewhere in hockey, if you want to become the best possible player you can be, you can't just rely on getting lucky and hoping that you have a good season. That is not a system that is going to work. What you need to do, and here's the problem. First of all, passion and motivation are a finite resource. You can't rely on always having motivation. You can't rely on these things. If you're going to rely on them, what's going to happen is you are going to run out. And when you run out, this is going to crush your performance because you're not going to have the motivation to keep working on things. You're not going to push yourself forward. And this is going to hold you back. And then understand that when we set goals, this idea of goal setting, using this as the system that we have built, if we set a goal, we are a failure and we are failing until we reach that goal. So let's say our goal is to score 50 goals this season. Well, until we have 50 goals, all the way up to 49 goals, we basically failed. If we hit that 50 number, we have a moment of reflection and maybe we're excited, but then we got to set another goal. So we're constantly reaching ahead and wanting to be somewhere. And wanting to be somewhere and not being satisfied with anything that you're currently doing is going to massively, massively hold back your performance because you're just going to be frustrated all the time. And then understand that when we play bad, our motivation is going to drop. Our play is going to be really focused on, and our motivation, our excitement, our passion is all going to be reliant on whether we play good or we play bad. So if we play bad, we're really going to lose all of that energy and that excitement. And then when we play well, we're going to be on top of the world. And we all know players like this, players that their confidence comes from if they had a good game last week. And these players are the ones that really struggle because if you have a consecutive chunk of games where you're just struggling, it's not going to be easy to deal with, and you're going to probably be very, very frustrated. And then let's break down another concept. And then when we're tired, when we're playing and we're tired, we're exhausted, understand that we think differently than we used to when we had high energy. So let's say we set goals when we had high energy and we're really excited, because odds are that's what you did. You said, I'm really motivated for this season. It was a day or a night where you're sitting there and you can't wait and you're prepared for the season, so you set your goals. I want to accomplish this and I want to accomplish this and I want to accomplish this. Okay, that's great. That's good that you had that motivation, but when you get tired, whether it's in training, whether it's in the games, whether it's in practices, whatever it is, your energy levels are going to vary, and you can't rely on having high energy in order to keep pushing yourself and keep improving, or really to just feel good about your own performance and your abilities. If you're relying on your energy levels, it's going to absolutely crush you, because when you train, I'm sure you've experienced this before, you start to stop early. You get lazy and you don't really want to maximize your training. You just want to get done and get finished with whatever you're doing. And this sucks. It sucks when this happens, but we have to prepare and be realistic about how our body reacts. We're not being realistic and limiting what's possible in terms of our overall performance and saying we can't accomplish this, we can't accomplish this. This is exactly why we don't set goals in the first place. Because if we set goals, we end up limiting whatever that performance is, saying that this is the max I think I can hit, so I want to hit that. Instead of setting specific goals, we need to set targets, and we need to set directional targets. And this is why you can't just set specific goals. You have to set directions, because, again, when we set that specific, we now have set ourselves up to be a failure until we succeed. And when we set ourselves up in this position, we ultimately are mentally losing already. And once we set these targets, and once we set these directional targets, for example, a great target to set if you want to score more goals is to be a goal scorer or to be a high-end shooting player or be a player that's known for being a great shooter or a great scorer, because what you can do is work on the things that would allow you to be this player. Being this player is way different than just scoring 50 goals, because that means that you just you scored 50 goals once. But instead, if you establish and you work on all of the details and you actually become the type of player who can score 50 goals, that means that moving forward, you now have that ability. And having the ability is the key. It's not just about wanting to do something. Wanting and being something are completely different. Now, once we've set these targets and we've decided what direction we want to go, just like setting a compass and moving that way, then we need to align our priority. So we can't be moving 100% effort in all directions because we only have a limited amount of effort. We can only give out so many. Let's imagine our energy as blocks of energy. Say we have 100 blocks of energy to give out. If we give 100 to one thing, then we can't give any to another. So we have limited time, we have limited energy, we have limited money to spend for most people. So you have to be able to establish where to put those resources. When we talk about putting those resources, you have to align these things. We need to align them and establish what matters. What do we want to accomplish, and decide what is it that really matters in the order that it matters. So set that up and decide, is hockey the number one thing for you? And if it's not, that's okay. Is training the number one thing? And you got to break down the priorities within the priorities. So when we talk about our performance in one specific thing, let's say hockey, we then need to establish, well, how do we prioritize our abilities within this core priority of hockey? And this is where we go into the 3-pillar system. Now, we break this down in detail in the Identity 2.0 programs. But what is important, what you want to understand about this concept is we want to work on our strengths, we want to maximize our strengths, and we want to limit and remove our bottlenecks. So again, this comes down to being really good at the things we're already naturally good at or that we've gotten really good at, because those are going to separate us. Those are going to create separation from the pack and allow us to identify to coaches as these types of players. Coaches are going to say, this player has a great wrist shot, and I can always trust that player. And this builds a trust system between you and the coaches. And again, there's a lot more detail that goes into this, but understanding this core concept is massive, because you got the strengths and working on the weaknesses, understanding what it means to actually deal with the things that are holding back your strengths. So you can't just work on things you're good at and ignore the weaknesses, because those are going to bottleneck and limit your performance in what you're good at. So you got to work on both of those within your priority. So within your priority of hockey. So again, set the targets, then align the priorities. Then what we need to do is set the system. Now the system has to bring together all of the things we're trying to accomplish. And these systems are typically based on one specific priority. So your hockey system. What you'd be working on with your hockey system is, for example, focus. We'd be working on confidence, emotional stability, and then we'd be also focused on hockey sense for the mental aspects. So we put those tools together. And then we have the physical. So we have skating, we have hands, we have shooting, we have passing, we have strength, we have muscle mass, we have speed, we have diet, we have cardio, we have mobility, we have injury prevention, and several other details within this. But these are all core pieces that go into putting the system together. And this flows into number 4, which is you need to build a toolbox for the system. So you need tools for each of these specific pieces of the system. If you neglect to work on any of these little pieces, it's going to absolutely crush your performance, because you're going to miss out on little elements. And this is a massive lie that gets taught, that gets basically ignored in hockey performance, is that all of these things have to be part of the system. If you're really good at something, you may not need to spend much time, and you can put that as a low priority. But if it starts to hold you back and something becomes a bottleneck, for example, let's say all of your physical abilities, your mental abilities are great, but your hockey sense within the mental sphere is really bad. that could massively hold back your performance and really make the other efforts that you're making a waste of time. And ultimately, this is the thing that we need to focus on, is that we don't want to be just wasting our time working on other things. If you're working super hard, you're spending time watching videos like this and learning from people who want to teach you and break down these concepts, things that they've learned. When we break these things down, it is massively, massively important to understand the whole picture. And we need the whole picture is that if you neglect a few things, those things could hold back all of the effort you put into other things. And this is a whole career of work that you basically are cutting off and limiting due to simply just ignorance. So don't allow that ignorance, now that you understand. It wasn't ignorance before, but now that you know this, don't be blind to it. Keep an eye, and you will notice this whenever bottlenecks occur. You'll notice when something specific is holding you back, and it's massive that you can establish and deal with that right away. Deal with those bottlenecks. So again, once you have the tools, once you would download the tools, and this is exactly what Identity 2.0's Toolbox is. It is a set of all of the things you need to work on focus, confidence, emotional stability, hockey sense, skating, hands, shooting, passing, strength, power, muscle mass, speed, diet, cardio, mobility, and injury prevention. We're constantly updating, adding new and improved versions and upgrading things because this is a constant process of improvement. But we're putting all of the pieces together, and we've put them all together for you. And that is the point. Now, you can do this on your own, and obviously, if this is something you want to do on your own, go ahead, and I recommend making it happen however you need to. But shifting to an easier version where everything's put together for you is really a great idea. So whether it's Identity 2.0 or whether it's some other system that you can find, I really don't care about what specific system you use, but I want to explain to you the idea that is you need a full system. You can't simply just rely on pieces of the puzzle. You can't just work on confidence and everything will work out. You can't just work on skating. Now, you can work on one thing at a time. So say that your confidence is your major domino, the major thing that if you knock that over, it pushes all the rest of the things over and really makes everything better. Then I recommend focusing on that confidence. And that's why we have the identity creator. That's why we built that within the identity system. And you can purchase that specifically, and we'll leave a link below if you want to check that out and get an understanding of what that's all about. And then finally, after we've built the tool, so again, we've set the targets, we've aligned the priorities of the targets, then we set the system for all of the different pieces of the puzzle. We've then built a toolbox for each piece of the puzzle and built the tools for each of them. And then finally, we want to adjust and recalibrate the system and recalibrate our priorities on a weekly basis. So we need to do these consistently. We can't just ignore certain things, and we can't just hope that now we're going to rely on motivation to keep doing this. Instead, what we need is we need accountability. This is why in the identity membership, the premium membership, this is why we actually have a weekly coaching call where we make sure we're all accountable. We check in on our tallies each week to make sure we're doing our work. And then on top of that, we adjust together and get coaching to actually maximize our system based on our priorities. Now, each week we adjust our priorities. We establish when we want to shift phases as our off season may be longer. So maybe we focus on things that are more off season specific. Then we shift, and we can shift these to all different aspects of the game. But make sure that we're always constantly adjusting our priorities and constantly adjusting our system itself and making these things better. And then we want to maintain accountability and push ourselves. So again, this is why goal setting in hockey is dated, because no matter what you do, passion and motivation are going to run out, and setting goals makes you a failure until you win. So this varying energy level, and then this constant aspect of you could be tired some days and maybe you're not, maybe you have lots of energy, but this variation and all these things makes really hockey performance unpredictable for most players because this goal setting system is so dated. So make your own luck, develop your own system, and get ready to actually become the player that you've meant to be, that you've always been meant to be and you knew you could be, instead of this garbage that everyone wants to feed you, which is set goals, work really hard, and things will work out. So I really, really hope you watched to the end of this video. Make sure to subscribe, because we're going to continue to give you the tools, putting together the pieces of the puzzle, whether it's guided meditations, whether it's confidence building and training, whether it's specific hockey sense aspects or training aspects. We're going to put it all together. The focus of this channel is around the mindset of performance, understanding how to build the systems, and understanding mental performance, confidence, focus, presence, and enjoying the game, getting the emotions set so that every day is exciting and fun, and you're always at the top of your mental game so that you can be at the top of your physical game. So enjoy the day, enjoy the rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you in the Identity 2.0 Premium membership for anybody who wants to take that next step. And for everybody else, continue to build your system, and I will talk to you soon and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I'm Corson Searles.